go ahead and we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the District Neighborhood Services District 3 and 4 community meeting. My name is Carlos Urquiza. I am your neighborhood services contact for districts 3 and 4. If you have any questions about anything neighborhood related, please feel free to contact me at any time, 714-765-4397, or by email at curquiza@anaheim.net. Before we get started, if anyone needs a Spanish interpretation, please click on the globe icon located on the bottom right of your Zoom screen and choose Spanish, and you'll hear the meeting in Spanish. If you're on a smartphone, there's also 3 little dots at the bottom right side of the phone, of the screen, and you choose interpretation and go to Spanish. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, favor de oprimir el botón con la imagen de un globo localizado en el lado inferior derecho de su pantalla y elija español. Si está usando un teléfono móvil, por favor, hay 3 puntitos en el lado derecho inferior de la pantalla también. Hace clic y ve donde dice lenguaje y va al español. Neighborhood Services District Community Meetings are part of the Anaheim Neighborhood Improvement Program that assists residents to improve the livability of their neighborhood by enabling to help themselves through the creation of partnerships with city staff, and other stakeholders. I encourage you to learn more about neighborhood services and our programs by visiting our website at anaheim.net/neighborhoods. There you'll find links to useful neighborhood information, along with publications such as Anaheim Anytime. We encourage you to utilize Anaheim Anytime if you don't already. It's available both on the webpage, Anaheim Anytime, or you can actually download the app on your phone. On our website, you can actually find a how-to page of how to download it, use it in about 6 quick steps. Anaheim Anytime provides you with the ability to report any issues in your neighborhood, such as streetlight outages, graffiti, potholes, just to name a few. And then before we get started with the agenda, I do want to invite Elaine Piamprosidi from the city's planning department to provide us with information on the upcoming environmental justice element workshops. Elaine, welcome.
Thank you, Carlos. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm in the Planning and Building Department, and tonight I'm just here to let you know about a new planning program that the city is kicking off. We're in the process of creating a new environmental justice element of the general plan. Environmental justice means ensuring that everyone has equal access to resources like healthy food, safe and sanitary homes, and public engagement. So the team working on that project is holding 4 workshops at various times and dates, as you can see on the right side of that flyer. There are 2 additional public online workshops that will be held on Saturday, February 12th, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. They're both the same, so you would only need to sign up for one of those meetings, and Spanish translation will also be available. So for more information and the links to those Zoom meetings, you can scan that QR code at the bottom of the screen, or you can go to the project's website, which is www.anaheim.net/environmental justice. Again, it's on the QR code, and also that page has information for the staff that you can contact if you have any questions about this project or about the workshops, any feedback after those workshops as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Elaine, for that information. And I think QR codes makes it way easier to share information. So we're glad that you did include that so residents can share it with neighbors, friends, family. And it's a very important topic. So we hope to see you there. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. There's a Q&A icon, and go ahead and type in your question, and staff would do our very best to answer your questions directly. If there are any questions at the end of the presentations, we'll go ahead and answer those live. If for some reason we don't get to your question tonight, we will post the responses to the questions on our website. We are going to be producing a recap of this meeting with the staff contact information along with the Q&A. But before we jump into our agenda, I would actually like to introduce your council member for District 4, Council Member Avelino Valencia. He's here to provide us with brief remarks. Councilmember Valencia, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. And hello, neighbors. Muy buenas tardes, vecinos. Espero que se encuentren muy bien. I hope everyone is having a wonderful evening this evening. My name is Avelino Valencia once again, and I have the privilege of representing District 4 on our Anaheim City Council. Thank you all for taking the time to participate in tonight's Neighborhood Services Community Meeting. I hope you all find tonight's information resourceful. And a quick shout out and appreciates the Fire Department, Public Works, Planning, and our Community Services Departments for providing tonight's presentations. Be well and God bless everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Valencia. We appreciate you being here tonight. I would also like to recognize Rudy Acevedo Rola from the office of District 3 Council Member Jose Moreno. Thank you for joining us, Rudy. We'll go ahead and dive into our agenda. Our first presenter is Sergeant Brian Pacwa and Officer Voss with the PERT team. Welcome,
Hello,
Sarge.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Here at the police department, we're very happy and proud of all the programs that we have going on in the community, specifically the community policing teams. We're really excited about a lot of the projects that we have going too. We're here for you. We're here to serve your needs. We're here to listen to what you want and act upon it. But as we all know, one of the biggest problems that we as a community is facing is homelessness. And the way we deal with homelessness at the police department is through outreach and engagement and enforcement. And we try to tackle those problems head on and do what we can. But one of the greatest assets we have at the police department is our psychiatric emergency response team, better known as PERT. And I feel like a lot of the people out in the community don't understand what PERT is or what they do. So I'm going to defer my time to Officer Stephen Voss tonight, who's been a member of our PERT team for quite a long time. And he's here to explain to you just a general overview of what PERT is and what they do. So Officer Voss.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, my name is Steve Voss. I'm one.
Officer Voss, I think you're muted. You're muted, sir.
I apologize for that. Sorry, I'll start over. My name is Steve Voss. I'm part of the 1/4 of the psychiatric emergency response team here at Anaheim, along with my partner, Officer Beck, our clinicians, Mary Tafoya and Christina Numamoto. We are a collaboration between the City of Anaheim Police Department and Orange County Healthcare Agency. We started in 2013 with our first team that paired 2 officers with 1 clinician. So you may notice that I'm wearing plain clothes. That is a huge benefit to us. When we started in 2013, we originally wore a sort of a softer version of our still labeled police department gear. We switched to this now, and we've noticed a great response. I wanted to tell you about a grant we recently received that has increased our staffing capabilities on both Tuesdays and Thursdays. So our normal hours began at 6 a.m. to about 4 p.m. With our daytime clinician, Mary. We've since expanded. That was Monday through Friday. So now Tuesday through Friday from noon to 10, we have Christina Numamoto and 2 officers with her. So kind of what we do, our primary focus is to assist patrol officers Anytime they come across something that they think may be more mental health related than criminal related. And we try to divert people from jails to appropriate services. In addition, when we write a mental health hold, we then follow up on that hold, which is a huge benefit. So we have a clinician writing a clinician level hold, and then follow up either happens at home where we notice that people are engaging in more outpatient services, or if an individual is still in the hospital, then we're able to have some communication in and get better outcomes, better treatment for that person. We follow up on mental health holds that are written by our patrol officers on the times that we're not there, the ones that we can't get to, either in home or in the hospital as well. We assist a lot of other agencies, both local and state, federal. Probably the biggest utilizer of our services is our own jails, or our own jail here in Anaheim. We divert people from the jails to maybe a more appropriate placement. So that's a huge benefit for us. Obviously, I mentioned our plain clothes. What we've noticed when we respond to a call in plain clothes with a clinician is it changes the entire context of our contact. So similar to having, let's say, the fire department arrive, you're going to think that maybe they're looking for a fire or a medical problem. When we show up in our plain clothes, our clinician with clipboard, people are more inclined to talk about mental health issues with us than maybe they would be if it was a marked unit and a clothed, uniformed officer. Additionally, combining our resources from the county CAT team and the police department, we get the unified response of both of those resources at once. So instead of the CAT team responding and then calling out the police, or the police responding and then calling out the CAT team, we arrive at once and save a lot of time. Our follow-ups, we've noticed increase outpatient participation in, or patient participation outpatient services. And we've got a large basket of resources that we can offer individuals as well outside of emergent medical help. So we have in-home crisis for individuals who maybe can't make it to an appointment but need a therapist to come to them. And those are all things that we would not have if we didn't have a relationship with the county that we do. In addition, our officers have someone to turn to for maybe cases that don't require emergency hospitalization, but maybe need some sort of intervention in the future to help prevent the crisis from going that direction. And that's one thing that we really like to do, is get out there and intervene before hospitalization is needed. So we offer a huge basket of resources coming from the county level that, again, we would not have if we didn't have this partnership. Sort of the statistics of our contacts since 2019, we've had over 2,800 contacts. We've written over 500 mental health holds, and probably over 3,000 just follow-ups with people. Throughout the existence of our program since 2013, we've only had 2 uses of force, which is a pretty significant statistic for a number of contacts. So that's basically our program in a nutshell. We're always happy to come out to the community and talk about it. We love sharing the program. We're very proud of Anaheim for starting this. We remain the only full-time PERT team in the county to pair 2 officers with a clinician full-time, and we're very happy to have our second team coming online with this grant. We've gotten great responses from other agencies around the country when they hear about our embedded co-response model. So we're very, very proud of it and happy to come talk to you. And if I'm sorry, if there's any questions, I am on a phone, so I can't read them now, but I'm hoping Sergeant Packer or somebody will get them to me and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Voss. Appreciate all the information and all the work that you guys do out in the community. Okay, just a reminder, I know Officer Voss mentioned it, but there is the Q&A box. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type in your question and we will get to it. And again, a reminder, if someone does need Spanish interpretation, there is that globe icon located on the bottom right side of your screen. And si necesitas servicios en interpretación al español, favor de oprimir el botón con la imagen del globo localizado en el lado derecho de su pantalla. Next, joining us this evening is Community Preservation Manager Sandra Lozo, and she's going to provide an update on the Community Care Response Team and other important code enforcement updates. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you, Carlos, and good evening, everybody. I'll go over our community care response team update first, and then some of the hot topics on code enforcement. For those of you that already knew, we had a community care response team all last year on a pilot program. And at the end of the year, we extended it for an additional 2 years. We saw a huge benefit. We had goals of diverting calls away from our police, responding right away to non-emergency, non-criminal calls related to homelessness, and have our skilled professionals of our community care response team with mental health clinicians, outreach workers, as well as having any type of nurse practitioners as well. The other goal we had was to have more touches by CCRT. They're out there 7 days a week, 14 hours a day from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So they're actually touching a lot more people out there, really starting to do case management, getting them on housing plans. Some people are going into the shelter, some are going to other housing options, which is great. And then also doing a lot of COVID protocols out there, whether it's providing personal protection equipment, assisting with testing, and also vaccinations at our shelters and out in the field. And then also looking to regionalize this effort, which many of the other cities in the county are looking at this pilot program, including City of Santa Ana that just is starting their test pilot program as we speak. The 2-year extension is fully funded through federal and state dollars, not through anything through our general fund, which is great. These are set aside funds specifically to address homelessness and COVID. We also are working on this year a couple of items. One, we're looking at the calls for service that we weren't able to get to last year that our police still did. And the number one calls for service that we saw were trespassing. So we're really taking a step out this year, and we are going to, and started test piloting this month, having CCRT respond to low-level crime calls of trespassing. So instead of our police responding to some of these trespassing calls, we are going to have CCRT respond. And it's a different trespassing warning they'll be issuing. They'll still be providing services and shelter opportunities. But if they're just not quite ready, they are going to let them know that they are on private property and trespassing, and that it would be a good opportunity for them to move off of that particular private property, as the next call for service may come to the police department, in which case they could be arrested for trespassing. The goal here is to not only divert that call, but possibly avoid a second call coming into our police department and avoiding that trespassing arrest altogether. So we're already test piloting it, starting to see some successes, and then we'll learn from that and continue to try and address more calls that are coming into our police department that we think our CCRT can continue to answer and be dispatched to. We also have this year going on a UCI study. As part of this program, UCI has professors that are going to be coming in and looking at crime trends, looking at CCRT and our response, and just kind of looking outside of the program and kind of looking and giving us recommendations as we continue to run this program for the next 2 years. So if there's other opportunities for improvement, good stuff they see happening that we can continue to work on and expand, they'll let us know, which is going to be phenomenal. We also expanded our CCR team dispatch. I know our pilot program, we estimated about 10,000 calls that year. They ended up handling over 15,000. So we did, in this 2-year extension, expand our dispatching so we can continue to handle those calls that are coming in, as well as the online reporting that you see on your screen. The other great news is we have our code enforcement officers has been expanded that help our community policing teams when they're out there, as well as CCRT regarding homeless property pickup. We now have expanded to 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And this is a huge enhancement when we're marking property that looks abandoned, whether it's by our libraries and our public parks, on our sidewalks, any of our public spaces, and we have to mark it for 24 hours or less. We're able to now have weekend pickups and booking that property for safekeeping. So that's going to be huge in keeping our blight down in our public spaces. We also are working on park operations. We still have a handful of parks that have a few people in them, either at night after closing. So we're working with CCRT and our police and public works and parks and code to do some nighttime operations in some of the parks. So in districts 3 and 4, we will be hitting some of the parks in your districts and upcoming weekly operations. We continue to work with and partner with Caltrans as well as Union Pacific Railroad, as most of our public spaces are tending to stay pretty open and clear. We are seeing maybe ones and twosies kind of camping out together. So we're able to get on those, but we do see an uptick on the private property of Caltrans and UP. We do have an upcoming cleanup with Caltrans on February 11th. And we're going to be hitting a few different spots along the 91 freeway, which will encompass District 3, as well as some spots along the 5 freeway, which will be impacting and helping District 4, as well as scheduling our Union Pacific cleanup, which kind of stretches all the way through the city and different stretches. So we'll use that. Piggybacking on Officer Voss's PERT team, we do work together. So there may be times where the PERT team is on a call related to an unhoused neighbor. And if they get stabilized or maybe they've taken them to some facility for services and now they're going to be released, we'll actually have our CCRT kind of partner up and be able to take them to a continued sheltered environment, and vice versa. CCRT may be on a call and someone may be going into mental health crisis and we'll contact the PERT team. So it's a great partnership with that group out there. I also want to let everybody know we do have a point in time count by the county that will be happening February 23rd through the 25th. And that'll be important as we've been operating on our last point in time count, which was in 2019. We had 694 people on that count, and that was prior to our shelters opening. Currently, we have 247 in our shelters right now, and we're continuing to move people through our shelter system as our housing projects come online, like Buena Esperanza, that was on the west side of town, an old motel Econo Lodge that was converted into a beautiful permanent supportive housing projects. And then also we're looking at purchasing the Studio 6 off of Harbor on the 91. That owner's been very cooperative. We've already been utilizing motel rooms there for bridge housing, but looking to have the city actually turn that into more permanent supportive housing, as well as continue to have bridge housing units there. Moving over to code enforcement, some of the hot topics, vendors, street vending continues to be a hot topic right now. People may not know that our new state law actually decriminalizes and restricts any enforcement on the PD and code enforcement side. Related to food, our only asset we have is with the Orange County Health Department, where you have to have a permit to be able to have food. And so we are partnering with them. We started in October a pilot where they come out once or twice a week, once on a weekday and then once on a weeknight on the weekend, to help us with vendor enforcement related to food. And so we did work an operation last night and working some of the areas throughout the city. And we also have a scheduled operation on Saturday. So I encourage everybody to continue to utilize Anaheim Anytime or My Anaheim app to report any type of street vending that you have concerns over. We do have 6 that are permitted throughout the city. They all are flower vendors. So anything related to food right now, they do not have a permit. So we don't know where the food's coming from, how it's being prepared, that sort of stuff. And we're having issues with dumping of illegal grease into our storm drain. So there is some health and safety concerns out there when we're talking about food. Regarding marijuana dispensaries, I'm happy to report we're only down to 2 citywide, 1 in D3, 0 in D4. The one in D3 should be closing shortly. Also, some good news regarding slap houses, which is our kind of illegal gambling operations that we had citywide. I'm happy to report we don't have any that we know of right now. Most all of them have been closed. And then also related to parking enforcement, right now we are 6 days a week with some into the evenings of parking enforcement. And then we will be filling that Sunday role. That's the only day we don't have coverage soon, as we have some new hires coming on board in the next month or two. And then we'll also have 7 days a week for parking enforcement. Again, continue to use Anaheim anytime. And if it's a shift we don't have covered, we'll always have people shift their schedules to make sure we get into everybody's area. We have worked out to all the permit parking areas are getting hit at least once a week by our staff. And then we make adjustments depending on the demand and the needs, and again, people reporting. Related to District 4, I know short-term rentals is a big issue in that particular area. We do have for 2022, the Sherwood Village area, those short-term rentals do have to relocate by the end of the calendar year. We've already had 4 or 5 move. We still have about 32. So we're going to be continuing to work on that to help alleviate that Sherwood Village pursuant to our code. And then we'll see where they end up moving to and making sure they're not impacting other parts of the city as well. That's all I have to report. I will answer questions in the chat room. And if you have anything else, you can also report it online, and we'll make sure we get to that if I didn't touch on any topic you had. But thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Carlos.
Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate all the updates and all of that information. Thank you for all your efforts. Okay, next we do have our city clerk, Teresa Bass, and she will be providing us with an update on the redistricting process. Teresa?
Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for having me. And welcome, and thank you to all our committee and members and community residents joining us this evening at this community meeting. I wanted to take this opportunity to provide an update to our redistricting process. Actually, we started this process back in July and August of 2021, and we're coming close to our final phase of the process. So just as background, you may be asking, why is the city going through redistricting process? So you may recall back in 2015, the city actually went through its first districting process where we looked across the city and we created 6 districts and made 6 council districts to represent our city of Anaheim. We adopted a map, our first district boundary map, back in February of 2016. And that's the map that we utilize for our 6 council members representing each of our council members across the city. Pursuant at that time, we were required by law, as we were creating those districts, to utilize the 2010 census data. And the reason we utilized the data was to ensure that each of our council districts were being equally populated and equally represented by each council member. So at that time, we used our 2010 census, and then pursuant to our charter, as we adopted and incorporated our council districts, it was stated in our charter that after every decennial federal census, the city was to come together, review its map, and to ensure that given any changes in population and growth in population, that each of the districts continue to be equally populated across the city. So as you may recall, we completed a federal census data back in 2020. You may recall seeing the survey come in the mail or someone knocking on your door to get some information. So the federal census data was completed back in October of 2020, but given COVID, there was a delay with some of the information that we were getting. And so we didn't get that data to the city up until the late of September of 2021. So that's why we typically would have seen that information the beginning of the year in February, March of 2021. But given COVID and given this, limitations that we had in accessing that information, we did receive it late September 2021, but we did jumpstart in July of August, providing the community and letting them know that we would be entering this new redistricting process following the data that we would have received. So we did receive the data, and we did see a population growth go across the city. Jason, if you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We did see across the city population growth across, and there's about a deviation, about 14% from our largest to our smallest district. Some districts grew more than others, and some ideally grew in the same pace. And given the new census data, there's District 1 and 2 and 6. They're about under 1% to the ideal population in order for all the districts to be equally populated. We did see some heavy growth in District 5, but District 3 and 4, we saw some underpopulation. So given the equal population across the 6 districts, we would see some changes and some growth that's needed within those 3, 4, and 5 districts. So that brings us to where we are now, given with the new census data that kicked off our redistricting process. So as mentioned, and if you can go to the next slide, please. We kicked off with some workshops and first public hearing back in July and August. And in September, we went out to the community to, one, provide you the information why the city was going through the redistricting process, an opportunity from us to hear from you. We had our demographer with us, giving with the criteria, the requirements as we go through the redistricting process, and what are we looking at, and what are the needs or requirements we need to meet as we are reviewing to adjust in these lines in order to meet that equal population across the city. We held a couple of public hearings, and at that time, we also conducted some additional outreach during the months of November and December. And what we're doing is really encouraging the community to provide us their input on those communities that need to stay together, communities of interest, in areas that we feel should not be divided if we were looking at adjusting any boundary lines. And then also provided an opportunity with our demographer to showcase our mapping tools. And we encouraged our public to submit maps where they can see those boundary lines be adjusted, where can we see the growth and actually growth and in districts 3 and 4, and then what we would need to do in District 5 in order to minimize, because we did have some increase in population in that district. So we did ask this, and we got several public submittals. And so we were excited to see that, as well as we had our demographer submit some maps for City Council consideration, given the feedback that we received back in September, as well as in November and December. If you can go to the next slide, please, Jason. So at our public hearing we held on November 4th, we had 15 maps that were presented to City Council. 12 were public submittals, and 3 were from the city demographer, as mentioned, and those were given the input that our demographer heard at each of those community meetings. Given the input that we heard from the community, understanding there's certain areas and communities that our council saw were important to keep together, and also hearing from the public on those communities that need to stay together, our city council narrowed that the 15 draft maps to 4 focus maps. That's map 102, 104, 106, and 114. The council also provided some feedback at some revisions, some areas and changes given the focus maps, and asked our demographer to come back with additional maps and revisions. Our demographer did come back with 2 maps, which is map 116 and 117, giving the feedback both from the council as well as from the public. If you can go to the next screen. So then 4 focus maps that you see here is map 102 and map 104, 106, and 114. Map 102 and map 114 were 2 public submittals that came forward that the council felt represented or saw some changes that they can see or some adjustments. Map 104 and 106 were submittals through our demographer that were presented as the council figures that there were some areas and some changes they said that represents the community as a whole. As mentioned, the council asked our demographer to come back with some revisions given the comments they provided at the dais as well as from the community. And if you go to the next slide, he came back with 2 maps, map 116 and 117. If you can go to the next screen, each of these maps we have posted on our website at anaheimredistricting.org, and we also have an interactive web viewer, which provides an opportunity to really go interactive, really go into each of the streets and give you different demographics and opportunities. I really encourage the public to visit our anaheimredistricting.org website and visit our interactive web viewer, because it gives you an opportunity to really put layers see what our current districts look like, and then actually a comparison from each of the focus districts. So what are we asking now? We have our next public hearing. If we can go to the next slide, our next public hearing is to be held on March 1st, 2022 at 6:30 in the council chambers. And what we're doing is asking the community by February 18th to provide some feedback on those focus maps, feedback or any revisions to those maps, and submit those to anaheimredistricting.org or emailing it to redistricting@anaheim.net. Providing that feedback to council so council can have an opportunity to hear those revisions or thoughts or communities that you feel that were being impacted that you think should make some changes or adjustments to the focus maps that we're looking at. So we're encouraging each and every one of you to submit those comments by February 18th at 5 p.m. so we can include that as the packet as we present it to our council on March 1st, 2022, as well as invite you to be part of our public hearing. Doesn't mean after February 18th, you will not have an opportunity to be heard. We still encourage you to submit public comments either electronically or present in person on March 1st. We'll be presenting and forwarding those on to council. But we just want to have an opportunity so that we can go ahead and package those and council can have them ahead of time at our next public hearing on March 1st. What we anticipate at our March 1st public hearing is the council will look at any changes or revisions and actually select a map from that for adoption, which would be our second district boundary map for the city of Anaheim. That we will utilize for our next general municipal election to be held in November of 2022 and be utilizing that same map for the next 10 years and not to revisit to our next decennial census that we will have. So we encourage everyone again, please visit our website at anaheimredistricting.org. Submit your comments and thoughts and revisions and feedback to our email at redistricting@anaheim.net. So that concludes my presentation. We do have a chat, as I was mentioned before. If you have any questions regarding the process, please submit that through the chat, or feel free to direct your questions directly to the redistricting@anaheim.net, and we will go ahead and be happy to respond. So thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Teresa, for that information. Thank you for inviting residents to not only provide the information by attending the public hearing, but also submitting comments. So, we hope that residents are able to share that information, with neighbors, friends, and family.
Carlos,
Next.
I'm sorry. I did see one question pop up. The question was, what do you do with the opinions of the community that are sent by email? Who reads them? And just wanted to answer that question. All those comments are submitted to our city council so they can be considered as they are reviewing and making their decisions and making revisions. So all those, we do also submit any comments we do submit it on our anaheimredistricting.org. So it gives an opportunity for the public as a whole to hear the thoughts and comments from their community and neighbors and the residents. But definitely just wanted to share all those comments are forwarded on for our city council for consideration.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, moving on, here to provide us with information on the hazard mitigation plan and emergency preparedness is Dr. Janine Wilmuth from the Anaheim Fire and Rescue. Dr. Wilmuth, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening. I am Dr. Janine Wilmuth. I'm the emergency manager with Anaheim Fire and Rescue, and like to talk to you this evening about our hazard mitigation plan, part of our Be Ready program. Mitigation is the actions that we take before disaster strikes so that the impact isn't as bad or it's eliminated. Next slide. Hazard mitigation, as I said, describes actions that we take to reduce or eliminate long-term risks caused by hazards or disasters. Things like retrofitting facilities to withstand earthquakes, reducing brush around homes to prevent the spread of wildfires. Usually after a disaster occurs, communities will take steps to recover from the emergency and rebuild. So a hazard mitigation plan is a way for the city to better prepare for disasters. So when they do happen, less damage occurs and recovery is easier. We start with a summary as far as the mitigation plan. We start with a summary of the natural and human caused hazards that pose a risk to our community, including descriptions of past disasters and the chances of these disasters occurring in the future and how severe that impact may be. Then we look at the threat level and the potential impacts that face Anaheim residents with each hazard. That includes our most vulnerable, as well as threats to important buildings like hospitals, infrastructure, utility lines. The plan also includes policy recommendations and projects that would reduce the threat and impact from hazards in Anaheim. As the costs of disasters continue to rise, governments and residents have to find a way to reduce hazard risks in the community. Aside from the mitigation plan can help to protect public health and safety and property. But this plan offers us ways that we can save money. Studies estimate that for every dollar spent on mitigation, an average of $4 to $6 is saved in recovery costs. AB 2140 compliance. AB 2140 is the California legislation that requires a city to have a hazard mitigation plan to apply for some of our grants from the Federal Emergency Management Agency that are used to help further improve our preparedness in the city. This also requires we have this plan in place to incorporate these hazards in this assessment and this information into the city's general plan, the more comprehensive long-term blueprint for Anaheim's growth and development. So to give you an idea of the scope of the plan, on the left side there, we have our emergency operations plan. This is really the city's playbook for when we need to respond to disasters. So it's going to include very specific procedures to stabilize an emergency and protect lives and property, and it's going to be used immediately. So in the middle there, we have our hazard mitigation plan, which looks at the hazards in general and their impact on the city and how we can mitigate those hazards within a 5-year period. So it's kind of in between. And then we have the general plan, we have the safety element. And so it's going to take those same hazards, the same profiles, and incorporate them into the long-term policies to keep Anaheim safe. So that's where they become a little less specific and it expands over up to 20 years. Next slide, there you go. So we've already started our planning process. We have a hazard mitigation task force with representatives from each of our departments, and we have been updating the hazards that may impact our community and also looking at the potential threat assessment. Because we want to prioritize what are the greatest threats to the city and really focus on how we can improve those. We can find actions that will improve those. So we're going to review the hazard mitigation, the strategies and actions to mitigate those hazards, again, to reduce or eliminate the impact. Our plan maintenance is the section we focus on how our task force that we have is going to continue to monitor for changes in hazards, changes in the city, and progress to the mitigation projects we do have. Once it's finished, we will have a draft plan for review, which is sent to the California Office of Emergency Services and to FEMA for approval. Once we get their sign off, we bring it back to our city council for adoption for the next 5 years. We would like you to help us with this process. As we are reviewing what hazards are the greatest threat to Anaheim, we would like to ask for our community's input on what are the hazards in your neighborhood. What are you most concerned about and how prepared are you? You can check out our Be Ready Anaheim website, which is www.anaheim.net/be ready. And this really covers Be Ready is about our approach to disaster preparedness here in the city. So on that page, there's a link for the hazard mitigation plan. And you can from there take our online survey, which is about 15 questions that we can then incorporate that information into this next plan, our updated plan. When that's complete, when we complete that, we'll have a draft plan that will be on the same page for our community to review and provide any feedback. And we expect it will be posted, the plan will be posted in mid-March. When the plan is approved and everything's final, we'll also have that final plan available on the same website. I believe that's it. If you have any questions about hazard mitigation planning, please feel free to contact me. We also have our consultant name, the consultant we're working with on this project. His name is Aaron. You can email him as well. There is one question about direct action to reduce flood risk from the potential failure of dams owned, operated by other government organizations. We do have dam failure is one of the risks and hazards that we look at within our mitigation plan. So making sure that we have some actions to lessen the impact of that. In addition, we also work with those partners on emergency action plans so that we have a response for that type of situation. The hazard mitigation plan is our way to prepare the city for disasters. If you are interested in learning about how you and your family can prepare, we're going to be hosting our second emergency preparedness symposium in early March, and we have a quick video with information about that. Anaheim Fire and Rescue's Emergency Management and Preparedness section is holding a workshop to help Anaheim residents prepare for emergencies at home. This time, the free symposium will include training sessions on first aid, earthquake preparedness, and emergency preparedness for seniors, children, pets, and people with disabilities. The Emergency Preparedness Symposium is scheduled for March 5th from 9 to 12 p.m. at NorthNet Training Center. Any Anaheim community member over the age of 16 is eligible to attend. Registration is required. You can sign up by clicking the link in our Instagram bio or the link in our Facebook post. For more information, call 714-765-4048. We will be promoting our symposium on social media where you can find the link to register, or you're welcome to call us at that number. We hope to see lots of you there. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Wilmoth. Appreciate the information and for preparing not only the city for an emergency, but also providing these symposiums for individuals and families to be prepared. A very important topic, so thank you. Next, we have from our Public Works Department, Mr. Joseph Alcock, and he will be providing us with information about the circulation element, which has to do with transportation and is part of the Anaheim General Plan. Joseph's going to be giving us information about what that is, but also inviting residents to attend an upcoming workshop. So Joseph, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you for having me here tonight. I am a principal transportation planner here in the Public Works Department, and we're here tonight to announce the start of our general plan circulation element update process, and to also provide kind of a brief overview of what we'll be doing with our update, an overview of our schedule, and to highlight some opportunities for you, the public, to provide input through this process. However, before I get into that, just a little bit on the circulation element. Next slide, please. So first off, what is a circulation element? At its core, it's a planning document that defines plans, policies, and transportation networks, which we use to shape long-term growth and also manage circulation both within and around the city. Next slide, please. So why is the city updating the circulation element? Well, first and foremost, the folks in Sacramento require us to do this every so often. Second, the circulation element is a bit dated. Its last update was in 2004. And clearly a lot's changed in the city since that time, especially with respect to development, land use, and population growth. So the state requiring us to make an update to the circulation element is a good thing. It gives us the opportunity to kind of tweak and better reflect the changes that have occurred within the city since 2004. And some of the things we'll be evaluating are shown on this slide. So looking at changing transportation needs, evolving transportation technologies, and incorporating other recently completed planning efforts. Next slide, please. And on this slide, we have an overview of what we think some of the changes we believe we'll be making to the circulation element will likely look like. So focusing again on things like updating goals, plans, policies, evaluating programs, strategies to manage congestion, and environmental requirements like greenhouse gas mitigation. And then updating our transportation networks to accommodate future growth. At this time, I can't say exactly what type of changes these elements, the elements that we will be recommending, as that's ultimately going to be up to you, the members of the public, the Anaheim City Council, as well as other stakeholders, to provide your input to us on how you'd like to see the city's future transportation systems operating. And this is really the main point of why we're here tonight. We're starting outreach efforts to begin getting your input on the types of issues and concerns that we should be evaluating as we begin to develop recommendations for the circulation element update. Next slide, please. So what opportunities are there for the public to get involved and participate in this update? First and foremost, on this slide right here under the tinyurl.com/moving Anaheim forward survey is a link to our current circulation element survey. It focuses on getting detailed questions on transportation priorities, areas and needs of improvement, as well as providing opportunities for the public to provide open-ended questions to us to review. This survey is currently live, and you can access it again from the link here, or you can also access it from our webpage. So if you go to the anaheim.net /circulation element webpage shown here at the bottom of this slide, and you scroll down to we would like to hear from you, and then, oh, sorry, go back. And then if you click on the please click here, it will pull up the survey, which is the first page of the survey shown here on the right-hand side of the slide. And we really want to encourage the public to take this survey. We urge you to take some time and really kind of think through your responses so that you can fully articulate your interests and needs in the transportation system, and so staff can kind of fully understand what is of key importance in terms of transportation to the public. Next slide. We'll also be conducting a couple of public open houses over the next few months. Our first one is, as shown on this flyer here, coming up on February 23rd at 6 p.m. At this workshop, we're going to provide an overview of the general plan, a little bit more than what we've done tonight, circulation element update process, kind of what I'm describing right now. And then we'll work through a Q&A session with the public in order to, again, try and understand the types of changes that the public would like to see staff consider as we look at updates to the circulation element. If you're interested in participating in the workshop, you can click on the workshop link, which is shown, oh, previous slide, please. You can click on the link shown here, and that will take you to where you need to register for the workshop, and then you'll receive the link to actually participate via Zoom. Okay, next slide. And then after we've done this first round of public outreach, we'll have some homework to do. We're going to take your input and evaluate the recommendations that you all have for us and start developing kind of improvement recommendations for the circulation element. Once we have developed an initial set of recommendations, we're planning to have a second workshop with the public to confirm that what we heard from you is correct and that we are accurately reflecting your interests and desires for improvement of the circulation element. We don't currently have a schedule for the second workshop, but we anticipate it'll occur sometime in spring. So stay tuned at our website for that. And then after we complete that second workshop, we'll begin the approval process by presenting update recommendations to the City Planning Commission and Council for final consideration and approval of the updates late summer, early fall. And then once council adopts those updates, that then will be the circulation element, which we will use in the future to both manage, plan, and shape future transportation systems here in the city. Next slide, please. This concludes kind of my overview of some of the outreach efforts we're going to be conducting here in the next few months for the circulation element. My contact information is shown here on this slide, both email and phone number. Feel free to either email me or give me a call if there's certain issues you'd want us to consider, issues we need to talk through, things that you would like to have considered as we, again, develop these recommendations. You can also always access the website, again, shown here at the bottom, anaheim.net/circulation element, to get the latest project updates, as well as to receive email updates when we do post new material to the website. Thank you for your time this evening. This concludes my overview. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, Joseph, thank you very much. I do not see any questions at this time in the Q&A box here, and I don't see any open questions right now. However, every question that was asked and the answer by staff will be posted in on our recap. That recap will be available within the next week on our website. We will post not only the Q&A, but also the contact information of every staff member that presented here today. We'll also post links to some of the key points that were mentioned today. I know there was a lot of Q&A about homelessness, permit parking, things of that nature. We'll include links so it's easy for you to be able to visit a specific website to obtain more information about that topic. On our website at neighborhood services, which is anaheim.net/neighborhoods, you'll also find other useful information. We really strive to provide you with the latest information on city resources, programs, initiatives. We have important contacts where you can download the sheet and print it out. If you like a copy mailed to you, feel free to send us an email. Our contact information, both my contact information and Jason Perez, who's also here at Neighborhood Services, is on our website. Feel free to give us a call, send us an email. And with that, I want to thank everyone for being here today. We know you have a busy schedule, and we appreciate you taking the time to learn about what's going on in the city. And we hope that you take advantage of the participation opportunities so you can share your voice and have a say in the future of Anaheim. So with that, thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a great night. Goodbye.